and welcome to Rising. We've got a great show for you today. I'm really glad to be back. I was sick, which many viewers conveniently pointed out, and I don't blame you for thinking this, that my illness, my sudden disappearance coincided with the release of the next Legend of Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom. Yes, this was a coincidence, but also I did play it for like 15 hours straight, and it was awesome.
Let's just call it a happy coincidence, Robby. I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
We missed you.
Thank you.
I know how you feel about masks, and I understand, but at this point, I want to make you an entire bubble boy, so we never have to miss you again.
Oh, well, that's very kind. You have the best intentions, I know. Well, take us away. I know we've got some big news to get into.
Big news day today. Okay, John Durham, a Trump-era special counsel assigned to infamously investigate the investigation into former President Donald Trump's alleged ties to Russia, released a bombshell 305-page report, and after roughly 4 years, it found that, in fact, there was no collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. And the FBI should never have launched a probe into the matter to begin with. Even CNN admits the report is a devastating blow to the agency and exonerates Donald Trump. Here's Jake Tapper. Let's watch.
Regardless, the report is now here. It has dropped. And it might not have produced everything of what some Republicans hoped for. It is, regardless, devastating to the FBI. And to a degree, it does exonerate Donald Trump.
Here are some major takeaways from the report. So Durham finds that, one, the FBI didn't have sufficient information to open the case investigating Trump's alleged ties to Russia. The Bureau relied on raw, unanalyzed, uncorroborated intelligence. Durham also criticizes the FBI's inability to corroborate any of the infamous Steele dossier, which contained a series of salacious allegations about Trump and his possible ties to Russia. The FBI operated with bias and different standards between Trump and 2016 Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. And finally, even though the report offers a scathing rebuke of the FBI's conduct regarding the Trump-Russia probe, it does not recommend any new charges against individuals. So this is some big news. Obviously, people have been waiting for this report for a long time. There might be some frustration from Trump and Trump-aligned officials that it doesn't recommend any new charges against individuals, so the practical consequences of this report won't be significant, but it does undergird and support a lot of what conservatives have criticized with respect to the FBI. Basically, this is one big confirmation. This is an independent official report saying, yeah, everybody got over their skis with this Russia thing. That's what it found, essentially.
I mean, accusing people of having links to Russia has been an age-old tactic to ruin your political enemies. And back in 2016, it wasn't just happening to Donald Trump. They also immediately ran chyron saying that Bernie Sanders was in cahoots with Putin after he won Nevada. So I think a lot of people rightly were suspicious about this throughout. The left, despite obviously not having a substantive policy alignment with Donald Trump, has been very critical of this kind of Russia obsession this whole time as well. Now, what's interesting about this is the timing of this acknowledgement in a lot of ways. Remember, we're coming off of the heels of this CNN Trump town hall, which has been criticized roundly by liberals because basically they couldn't contain Trump. He was able to say a lot of things that are some mix of misinformation and inconvenient truths for the Democratic Party. But one of the things they really tried to pin him on was the idea that he was kind of uniquely anti-democratic by framing the results of the 2020 elections in a certain way, claiming that they were stolen from him. Now, obviously, his direct claims of election fraud are unsubstantiated and not the same as this. But he also made a cluster of other claims about how the election was rigged, including stuff like this and stuff like the suppression of the Hunter Biden story. And as this kind of news percolates, I think it does start to, cause a voter to see things in less black and white terms and see Trump as someone who has been victimized by the deep state in ways that are as egregious in some people's minds as what, Democrats are saying Trump is doing about election denialism.
100%. And a moderator who, other than Caitlin Collins, who better understands, and I'm not trying to knock her, I think she did well in some ways, given the format and given what CNN expected, but a moderator who better understood where conservative energy is now and what issues animate them could have done exactly what you're saying there, could have drawn a difference or tried to get Trump at least to recognize a difference between the ballot box stuffing, true the vote stuff he was bringing up, which doesn't have any legitimacy or evidence supported on its behalf.
Right.
A difference between that and the FBI investigations and the smearing and the pressure on social media, all of that stuff, which actually has a fairly robust foundation. And now we are seeing confirmation from this report that there was not evidence when they initiated this entire Russian smear campaign. Something that they tried to taint, as you said, not just Trump, but Bernie and others. It's interesting, I think, to transport ourselves back to like the 2016, 2017 time period where just a whiff of Russian attachment was this. The mainstream media would descend upon you. It would just be wall-to-wall coverage. There'd be headlines everywhere. CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Politico, Washington Post, Atlantic about the stench of Russian involvement and collusion that was just overwhelming. I can remember talking to a mainstream journalist friend of mine at the time, this is 2018-ish, saying, "Wow, we're seeing all the rumors about Trump's connections to Russia have basically all been confirmed." And I remember thinking, really? That's the direction you're going with this? You don't think this is like just the biggest smear of all time? So it's it's edifying now to have so much of it disproven or made to seem less legitimate. And I'm thankful to people like Jake Tapper who, say what you will about him. Yeah. I think is much more willing than other people in mainstream media to concede when his side has had a losing argument.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, journalist Aaron Mate tweeted, Durham report underscores that Trump-Russia collusion was a Clinton campaign scam abetted by FBI deception and media stenography. Yet he doesn't touch Russiagate's core allegation, which the Clinton camp also generated and FBI media parroted, alleged Russian hacking of DNC. And Matt Taibbi writes, ex-CIA head John Brennan, Mueller report, they found no conspiracy. Brennan on MSNBC, I suspected there was more than there actually was. Years of Trump-Russia hysteria based on suspicion only. It was Mickey Mouse intelligence. A dream is a wish your heart makes.
Yeah. Furthermore, House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan said they reached out to special counsel Durham to testify on Capitol Hill next week. I was looking for, because I came across, I believe it was John Brennan making this claim. He was one of the foremost Russiagate truther type people, saying that, I believe it was him, I'm going to find this quote. He said that he thinks Russia had more to do with Donald Trump being elected or more to do with Hillary Clinton being defeated than Donald Trump did. Which makes no sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, even at its most far-flung, even if you ended up accepting all these premises, which are false, about involvement, like, people were not brain controlled. Yeah. People did not, I'm going to vote for Clinton. I got they have an antenna and they get the Russian signal and then they switch their vote. Like, that's as crazy and conspiratorial as anything that Trump is saying about the 2020 election, to be frank.
From the day that it was announced that Hillary lost the election, even before that, frankly, there was a campaign to prevent anyone from interrogating the role she played in her own loss. At no point was there any serious national consideration about what it meant for the DNC to rig the race in favor of a historically unpopular candidate. Yes. The choices that she made not to campaign in key states that she ultimately lost. The fact that she kept stepping in it and not making any kind of concessions to the youth vote who were clamoring, excited about this largely before then unknown little senator from Vermont who managed to capture the world by storm precisely because there was this vacuum in Hillary Clinton's own campaign messaging. No interrogation of that was allowed. Instead, all of the explanation for what had happened to Hillary Clinton was funneled into this Russia bucket. And it provided cover for her and the failures of her own administration, especially as kind of the Clinton blob continued to control so much of the Democratic Party going forward. It felt like they were unwilling to be vulnerable to any kind of critique. And now, all of these years later, it seems like they have still not learned their lesson, and they're repeating many of the same things with respect to Joe Biden. And
I'll just add that the existing media infrastructure of cable news, television, entertainment, of which Trump was an integral part for years and years and years, made into a celebrity by Jeff Zucker, the very person who had come to run CNN during the resistance time period. That's what gave Trump his power, his persuasiveness, his introduction to the American people as a deal maker and a celebrity statesman type person. That was done by the infrastructure we already have, not uniquely done by social media, given Russian interference. That was something they came up with, the existing media infrastructure, to excuse their own complicity in the whole thing.
Yep. Putin's not quite as powerful as some people at CNN like to believe he is.
No, not indeed. Well, we're going to keep talking about this later in the show. More Rising right after this.